Published, 20:01 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 13th of April 2018. Updated, 20:01 Eastern Daylight Saving Time, the 13th of April 2018. They bear a striking likeness to each other. Two young men, both ruggedly handsome with matching stubble and wide, irresistible grins. No wonder they both captured the heart of the same woman, Meghan Markle. But only one of them is going to be waiting at the altar for Meghan on the 19th of May. And it's not Cory Vitiello, a celebrity chef in his home city of Toronto and the person she was dating just weeks before she met Prince Harry. Here the Mail's David Jones uncovers the untold story of Meghan's secretive two-year affair with Cory, who helped lift her spirits after her first marriage had broken down. Through exclusive interviews with the man himself, his mother and Meghan's inner circle during her years in Toronto, when she was filming the series Suits, we've discovered just how close she came to marrying Cory, the real reason their relationship faltered and how, through him, she gained access to the loftiest levels of society, and, ultimately, the high-powered friends who would introduce her to the prince, in Part 2 of the Daily Mail's Weekend Special on the Rise and Rise of Meghan Markle. David Jones speaks to her former partner Cory Vitiello, pictured left, his mother and Meghan's inner circle during her years in Toronto. Cory Vitiello, pictured, who started his first catering business at 15, impressed Meghan with his burgers and rugged good looks as an avowed foodie, whose slender figure belies her weakness for calorie-laden dishes. Meghan Markle loves to dine out. And during the summer of 2014, she penned a gushing review on her new lifestyle blog in praise of a small but fashionable restaurant near her Toronto neighborhood. With its salmon pink walls, tattooed and t-shirted waiters, and potent, killer cocktails, the Harbour Room was a magnet for the young, artsy set, and Meghan, who ate there with fellow cast members from the television series Suits, drooled over its much-lauded burger, saying it was the best thing she'd sampled from the already impressive menu. The actress expressed equally unbridled admiration for the restaurant's co-owner, Canadian celebrity chef Cory Vitiello, who had been taught to cook as a child by his Italian grandmother and started his first catering business from his home, in a sleepy provincial town, when he was just 15, and maybe that's part of it, the small-town charm and moral compass of someone who doesn't come from the big city, but dreams big thoughts and makes them happen. That makes his food so approachable yet inspired, said Meghan, proclaiming Vitiello, then 35, her very favorite chef. Yet it wasn't only his culinary skill that impressed her. What she omitted to say, in her eloquent paean, was that she was falling headlong in love with Vitiello, whose Scandinavian and Latin genes, his mother's ancestry is Swedish, and his father, a retired PE teacher, is of Italian descent, had combined to produce a stubble-jawed Adonis. That summer, they began an intense relationship that would last for almost 2 years, causing many in their circle to believe it would lead to the altar. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, who will marry in May, met just weeks after her relationship with Cory, and the man who could have married Meghan bears a striking resemblance to her fiancé Prince Harry, whom she will marry. In fact, when Meghan published that glowing review on her now-closed blog, The Tig, their romance might have been advancing apace. And when she asked Vitiello, in a Q, dropping hints about her romantic status on social media is something of a trademark for Meghan, who first indicated that rumors about her love for Prince Harry were true by posting an image of two spooning, smiley-faced bananas, a favorite fruit of his. Certainly, the timing of that internet post in 2014 fits with what I've learned about Meghan's secretive affair with the chef. For the review appeared on the 10th of July 2014, and, in an exclusive interview, his mother Joanne Vitiello told me her son's relationship with Meghan began around that time, after Meghan visited the Harbour Room with friends from Suits. Their intense relationship led many to believe it would lead to the altar when she returned to the restaurant to celebrate her 33rd birthday with her castmates, on the 4th of August 2014. Her feelings for the tall, athletically built Cory were plain for all to see. The full inside story of Meghan's courtship with Vitiello, which began a year after her divorce from film producer Trevor Engelson and ended shortly before she met Harry, has never before been told. Nor, beyond the names of her favorite hunts, do we know much about Meghan's life in Toronto, a city she has called her adopted home, having lived there for 6 years, between 2011 and 2017, for the most part anonymously, in an unpretentious clapboard house, in an unremarkable street. However, after interviewing numerous sources in Canada, including Cory's parents, and speaking to the chef himself, a commendably honorable man who has resisted colossal offers to sell his story, I have pieced together the intriguing prequel to the royal love match. Meghan was an actress on the rise, but in Toronto, chef of the moment Cory was the bigger star. Fruity, the photo Meghan posted on social media in 2016 that hinted she was in a relationship with Harry is integral to Meghan's story for many reasons. not least because it explains how the actress, who arrived in Toronto as an unknown and left last November as the world's most Googled woman, positioned herself, some might say rather calculatingly, in the elevated social milieu which led to her being introduced to Harry. Rather like the film Sliding Doors, which shows how differently people's lives would turn out, but for a small twist of fate, it also gives us a picture of the wildly contrasting future that would have awaited Meghan had she married Cory Vitiello. His mother certainly left me in little doubt that she would have been thrilled to have Meghan for a daughter-in-law. She was effusive in her praise for Meghan, who spent the Christmas of 2015 with the Vitiello family, staying for several days at their modern home in Brantford, west of Toronto. And when I asked Mrs. Vitiello whether Cory and Meghan's relationship had been very serious, her reply was emphatic: absolutely. And we are very fond of her, declared Mrs. Vitiello, very deliberately using the present tense. She is a lovely, lovely woman. Very smart, very bright, very caring. She's a warm personality, very sincere. We very much enjoyed the time we spent with her. She fitted very well into our family. The royal family, and Britain, is very lucky to have her. She arrived in Toronto as unknown but left it last November as the world's most Googled woman. Such is her worldwide renown today, that the velocity of Meghan's rise is difficult to contemplate. 7 years ago, when she landed the part of legal assistant Rachel Zane in a new cable TV series, Suits, which was to be shot in Toronto, because Canada gives generous tax credits to TV and movie producers, she was still a virtual unknown. Her most recent screen appearances had been minor roles in two forgettable films, one a gallows humor comedy, Get Him to the Greek, starring Russell Brand, and she was one among legions of anonymous actors striving for stardom in a remote, cliquey and, during the long winter, forbiddingly cold city. There was no guarantee Suits would take off, but the prospect that she might at last break into the big time thrilled Meghan. After all, she was approaching 30 and knew there wouldn't be too many more opportunities to attain the recognition she'd sought since girlhood. For this naturally gregarious woman, however, loneliness was her biggest enemy during those early days. 2,500 miles away from her home city of Los Angeles, where she had many friends, and had lived for the past 6 years with Trevor Engelson, her soulmate and mentor since her early 20s. Knowing they would be apart for a prolonged period, perhaps they felt a need to affirm their commitment to one another. For in September 2011, Meghan flew to Jamaica to marry Engelson in a laid-back ceremony at a beach resort, accompanied by exuberant beach games and fueled by copious amounts of rum punch and Red Stripe lager. The couple were also carried aloft in chairs. In accordance with Trevor's Jewish faith, Meghan married Hollywood producer Trevor Engelson, pictured in 2011, but the couple were forced to live apart when she left Los Angeles to film Suits in Toronto afterwards. They would fly the 5 hours between LA and Toronto for trysts whenever possible. There were also many Skype and FaceTime calls. However, her husband's career as a Hollywood film producer and agent was also advancing apace, so their hectic schedules restricted these liaisons, placing the relationship under strain. Matters were made worse because, when they did manage to snatch some time together, it was clear to Trevor that Meghan was changing. Habits that had once endeared him to her, such as rolling up for appointments late, in unironed clothes, now annoyed her. Starring for the first time in a TV series seemed to be turning her head, and she found a new circle of friends among her fellow actors, so that, though she had often declared that she couldn't envisage life without Trevor, he began to feel like a spare part. There wasn't anything exciting about Meghan's new working environment, however. Acting on a primetime series might sound glamorous, but Suits is largely filmed in a grim, concrete hangar on a former military base on the outskirts of Toronto, and she would have to mooch around there for hour upon tedious hour, waiting to be called on set. Meghan's two dogs Guy and Bogart, pictured, took pride of place both in her home and on her social media. Home for Meghan was a 3-bedroom house in Seton Village, an old neighborhood with an English feel now popular with bohemian media types, where she did all she could to create an air of familiarity. She redecorated the house, 10 Yarmouth Road, in light colors. Hung paintings, installed modern furniture, and filled it with flowers so it would resemble the cozy, yellow-painted Californian bungalow she and Trevor had shared off Sunset Boulevard. Meghan even brought her white Audi SUV from California to Toronto, a 40-hour drive away, and added a sense of permanence to the move by taking household appliances like her well-loved food mixer with her. There was something inside her that wasn't content with just being an actress, Cory's friend for company. She installed her two adored dogs in the house. She would take Guy, a beagle, and Bogart, a Labrador Shepherd cross, both acquired from an LA rescue pound, for long walks in the snowbound local park, returning to cook supper for one. She lived here very quietly, at least until Harry came on the scene. It was only after that when she really began to have friends round, and they had a big party, her former next-door neighbor, Bill Capitanos, told me. The 75-year-old Greek-born retired restaurant manager says he became a sort of uncle to Meghan. He chatted with her over the garden fence and did odd jobs for her, such as fixing the swing door to her rear garage when it got jammed. Meghan also met his grandchildren, leading him to the opinion that she'll make a wonderful mum, and when her mother, Doria Ragland, came to stay, Mr. Capitano says she made a point of thanking him for looking after her angel. Meghan was surely grateful for his avuncular kindness when, in August 2013, just 21 months after their wedding, she and Engelson were divorced. Suits you. Meghan made Canada feel like home by filling her new house, pictured, that she shared with her beloved dogs with flowers and art. The court papers cite irreconcilable differences, as I will reveal in next week's installment of this series. However, this legal jargon doesn't begin to tell the poignant and acrimonious story of their breakup. During this difficult interlude, Meghan also lost touch with some of her old LA friends, who felt Trevor had been badly treated and took his side, most notably Ninaki Pretty, whom she had known since they were two and was once like a sister to her. Meghan has described how her TV show's cast became her surrogate family. She forged a particularly close bond with two of her co-stars, Gina Torres, 48, and Sarah Rafferty, 45, and these two women, whom she called her Suits sisters, no doubt comforted her as she adjusted to life as a divorcee. Yes, it was serious. They were living together and they were in their 30s. Cory's mother sometimes, after a long day at the studio, Gina would cook supper for her. Meghan adored her picadillo, a Latin American-style hash, which they washed down with white burgundy. They also began frequenting Toronto's many stylish bars and restaurants, and it was on one such evening that Meghan met the chef Cory Vitiello. The received wisdom is that she was the more famous half of this good-looking couple. In Toronto, however, this was far from the truth. While Suits was becoming increasingly popular, during the second series it became the most-watched show in the US among viewers in the 18 to 49 age bracket, and her character, the smart, sassy Rachel Zane, was beginning to attract hordes of male admirers. Vitiello was the real celebrity in his home city. Something of a Jamie Oliver figure in Toronto, albeit less laddish, he made frequent TV appearances, and he had turned the Harvard Room, which he has since closed to concentrate on his new venture, a rotisserie chain, into the city's coolest eatery. In Suits, Gina Torres, pictured left, the ex-wife of actor Lawrence Fishburne, played Meghan's boss. In real life they became like sisters. Moreover, he had reportedly dated two of Canada's most high-profile women, heiress, politician and businesswoman Belinda Stronach, 13 years his senior, and beautiful TV presenter Tanya Kim. Korean-Canadian Miss Kim co-hosted an influential talk show with Ben Mulroney, son of former Prime Minister Brian Mulroney and husband of style guru Jessica Mulroney. Jessica would later become one of Meghan's closest confidants, and is said to be the royal wedding planner-in-chief. She has also been tipped to be Meghan's maid of honor. Vitiello is also friendly with Marcus Anderson, global membership director of the elite private club Soho House, which has a branch in Toronto, though Meghan was reportedly introduced to Prince Harry by Violet von Westenholz, daughter of Prince Charles's pal Baron Piers von Westenholz, who did PR for Ralph Lauren when Meghan was the fashion company's brand ambassador. Anderson is also said to have played a part in making the match. When the news broke she was with Harry, we were so shocked. I never really did get to say goodbye personally. Cory's mother, the personable chef, mingled easily with these major social players at his restaurant, and rubbed shoulders with them at charitable galas and other events. So when Meghan became his girlfriend, he provided her with a passport into the most influential echelons of Toronto society, a clique whose connections spread far beyond Canada, and it was this quantum leap from actress to glittering social butterfly, and then, by dint of her campaigning work with organizations such as the United Nations and World Vision, that brought Meghan into the orbit of royalty. Columnist Shannon Gavanna, Toronto's most in-the-know social observer, met Meghan many times, and recalls throwing a dinner party she attended with her new beau. "She was just a cable actress to me and didn't mean much," he told me. "Cory is a friend of mine, a lot of people know him. He is a swell guy, and pretty much liked by everyone. He would be invited to top gatherings by dint of his talent and personality. Within the confines of the city, being with him was definitely a useful platform for her. He would be bigger in terms of the establishment of Toronto. He would be leverage for Meghan." Her co-star Sarah Rafferty, pictured left, is expected to be on the guest list at the royal wedding. A lot of TV shows have been shot in Toronto, but you don't often see someone like Meghan up on the billboards. She was different in that respect, and I feel like if she had never come to Toronto she wouldn't be marrying Prince Harry. There was something about coming to Toronto, becoming friends with the Mulroneys, and having a high social cachet. It was the perfect storm that created the opportunity. Did Gavanna think Meghan deliberately engineered her social elevation? All of life is deliberate. I think she took advantage of the opportunity that came her way. It was a case of serendipity, opportunity meets luck. There was something inside of her that wasn't content with just being an actress. I mean, what would have happened after Suits? She wasn't getting any younger, yet all this is hindsight. Back in the summer of 2014, before the doors slid shut on her relationship with Cory, Meghan was blissfully happy with her lot. Indeed, life had never felt so good. She declared as much in her quirky blog, The Tig, which she had launched that year with the aim of further raising her profile. Why did Meghan's seemingly perfect love match with Cory end? And more pertinently, was there an overlap between her relationships with him and Harry, as some have suggested? According to one well-placed source, it was Vitiello who initiated the breakup because he grew tired of Meghan's increasingly prima donna-like behavior. When they went out to dinner or traveled together, says the insider, she would drive her unpretentious boyfriend to distraction by using her name to win better service. Matters are rumored to have come to a head, somewhat farcically, when she and Cory had friends to dinner, and she passed off the recipe for the much-admired main dish of pasta with courgette spirals, one of her boyfriend's creations, as hers. Cory, pictured, has evaded questions about the breakdown of his relationship with Meghan for the past 18 months. Could all this be true? The man best placed to answer, Cory, has never spoken about the matter, assiduously evading the press for the past 18 months. However, when I found him, at the flagship branch of his new rotisserie chain, he brewed me a coffee and genially explained his reticence. I've got a lot of respect for Meghan and, from my end, to make it seem like I'm part of the story of her elevation into the ranks of royalty would seem self-serving and opportunistic, he reasoned. I'm pleased for Meghan. She's a great girl. There is no bitterness. I respect people's private and personal lives, and although she has put herself in the public spectrum, I still hold to that. So was it he or Meghan who ended the relationship? Haha, that's the one question you can't answer, her. Well, you know what? I'll let the public forum debate that. Since he's smiling, I try another tack. According to reports, he and Meghan finished in April or May 2016, and within a few weeks she and Harry were dating. But the timing has never been pinpointed. Had they parted permanently when Harry came on the scene? If so, why? Cory the master chef was known for his dish of pasta with courgette spirals. Pictured, yeah? Well, I'm sure you've done your due diligence. I really appreciate the professionalism in the way you're going about this. Another stonewall. When I jokingly suggested he might receive a wedding invitation, there was another huge laugh. No, I don't think so. Meghan's a wonderful girl, and I'm very proud of her. But no, it's not something I think about. However, he did hint that he would be watching the wedding on television. Listen, I'll be interested as much as anybody else, as an old friend of Meghan, he said. His mother will certainly be glued to her TV set on the 19th of May. Absolutely, she told me, adding that, were she to be asked to attend the Windsor ceremony, she would go in a minute. When I suggested Meghan might have been a tad too precious for her son, and recounted the supposed row over his courgette recipe, she sounded dubious. I've never heard that story. Meghan is an excellent cook, so I'm sure she made some delicious meals. But he's a trained chef and has worked in this career for over 20 years. There is a difference between a cook and a chef, yet Mrs. Vitiello insists that even she doesn't know why her son broke up with Meghan, because he hasn't volunteered to tell her, and she doesn't believe it's her place to pry. As I revealed in the Daily Mail recently, before she became famous, Meghan had written an anonymous internet diary called The Working Actress, in which she had chronicled her quest for Hollywood stardom with daring indiscretion. This new blog, to which she put her name, was altogether more sophisticated, and gave her access to many famous people, whom she interviewed, in the arts, politics and sport, further raising her profile. Apparently, it also brought her plenty of freebies, for she would review restaurants, hotels, beauty treatments and travel destinations, as well as opining on matters serious and trivial. As her romance with Vitiello progressed, Meghan would head straight to the Harvard room after the day's shooting was over and hang out at the bar waiting for him to finish cooking. He also began staying at her house. The chef was around quite often, recalls neighbor Mr. Capitanos. Curiously, however, the couple were at pains to keep their relationship private, according to the chef's mother, and Meghan in particular tried to avoid them being pictured together at social events. That was both their choices, Mrs. Vitiello told me, adding, it was a pretty conscious decision on her part. She didn't want it to be public. Cory and Meghan avoided attending social events as a couple to keep their relationship private. This explains why only one, rather rigidly posed, photo of the pair appears to have been published. Meghan wearing a halter-neck white gown, smiling demurely, holding a clutch bag, Vitiello standing sentry beside her, his shirt partly unbuttoned. And why their courtship went virtually unreported in Canada's gossip columns until Meghan was linked with Prince Harry. Mrs. Vitiello says they did not actually attend many social events as a couple. Rather, they were homebodies, and enjoyed staying in to cook for one another. Neighbors also recall seeing them walking, hand in hand, with the dogs in tow, and shopping for groceries in Loblaws, Meghan's local equivalent of Sainsbury's. By the winter of 2015, the relationship was so serious that Meghan was invited to spend Christmas with the Vitiellos, in Brantford, Ontario. Cory's parents have since downsized, but they then lived in a house with plenty of space for the large festive gathering, including his two brothers and their families. Within weeks of their first date, Harry made a furtive trip to Toronto. Cory's mother Joanne Vitiello sounds so wistful and nostalgic as she recalls the few days Meghan spent with them, that one momentarily forgets this happened barely 3 years ago. She had no airs or graces. She was very interested in being with the people she was with. She has a good sense of humor, and she's very personable. We certainly enjoyed the conversations we had with her, she says. When it came to party games with the young ones, Meghan threw herself into the fray wholeheartedly, again demonstrating the easy way she has with children. Of course, she exchanged Christmas presents with the family, though Mrs. Vitiello says it wasn't only then that Meghan, ever thoughtful, sent her gifts. There was only one small hiccup. She brought her dogs to our house. That was kind of a surprise, laughs Mrs. Vitiello, hastily adding that Bogart and Guy had been well behaved. Cory and Meghan tried to keep their relationship under wraps, but there were hints, such as him posting a picture of himself with Meghan's dog Guy on social media in March 2016. Later, driving through the Vitiello snowbound, near deserted neighborhood, I pondered the enormous contrast between Meghan's nearly life, and the life that now awaits her. As a royal duchess, there will be stiffly formal visits to Balmoral and Sandringham, and endless engagements with the cameras perpetually trained on her. In egalitarian Canada, with its laid-back ambience and healthy disdain for the cult of celebrity, Meghan would have been regarded no differently than any other wife working in the city and spending weekends and holidays with her in-laws, out in the sticks. Did Mr. and Mrs. Vitiello expect, as Meghan bonded with their family that memorable Christmas, that this was her destiny? I won't speak about that, says Cory's mother. Then, tellingly, she goes on, I'll just let you know that we were very fond of her. It was serious. They were together that length of time. They were living together in the house, and they were in their 30s, so they weren't young kids. If these words don't tell us she had thought they might marry, her resigned expression suggests she still contemplates, with a degree of longing, what might have been. Meghan met Harry in the summer of 2016, just weeks after splitting with Cory. Here they are on a night out in London in February 2017. Somewhat surprisingly, however, she says she and Meghan remained in contact by text and email, even after she had started dating Harry. She's therefore able to shed some light on the mystery of when one relationship ended and the next began. Mrs. Vitiello surmises that Meghan and Cory had been apart for about 3 months before she first met Harry. We never really did get to say goodbye personally. Meghan was going to come to see us, to explain matters and make her farewells, but we were going on holiday to South Carolina, so we were away. We were still there when the news broke that she was with Harry. We were so very shocked. So she may have been coming down to our family home, basically to tell us, because she had already told us she was dating someone. I thought it was very respectful to let me know personally that she was dating someone else. She was probably planning to come and tell us exactly who she was dating, and then the news broke. I remember I had a phone call in Myrtle Beach. I was told, Meghan's dating Prince Harry. Then, we went back to the condo, switched on the TV, and there it was. This was the autumn of 2016, when Meghan ran her lifestyle blog. It gave her the opportunity to interview a wide variety of prominent people. Today, she might prefer to forget her rather breathless reflections on these encounters. However, they tell us as much about her as her subjects, as the following extracts show. The 7th of July 2014, after meeting Princess Alia Al-Senussi, member of the exiled Libyan royal family, little girls dream of being princesses. I, for one, was all about Shira, princess of power. And grown women seem to retain this childhood fantasy. Just look at the pomp and circumstance surrounding the royal wedding and endless conversation about Princess Kate. So when my dear friend introduced me to Princess Alia Al Sanusi. I had a bit of a pinch me I'm emailing with a princess moment. The 29th of August 2014 dinner with Rory McIlroy. Beyond the work play ethic, the most endearing quality of this man is his character, as real and honest as they come, enjoying a plate of pasta with veal ragu and expressing a love for his parents that is rarely seen in men his age. He is not just the real deal, he is real. Courteous, class and ever so talented. Social whirl. Meghan on a night out, age 22. She wrote about a number of her social encounters on her lifestyle blog. The 8th of September 2014. Ivanka Trump. Staggeringly beautiful, no question, but so incredibly savvy and intelligent that she's not just carved a niche for herself under her father's fame Trump notoriety, she has undoubtedly created her own empire. It's so easy to knock the girls who come from privilege, but I always remember Ivanka being different. The 6th of February 2015. Elizabeth Hurley. I can't begin to tell you about my girl crush on Elizabeth Hurley. Maybe it started with that safety pin dress in the 90s, with the high slit, low neck, and oh so virtuous teeny diamond cross around her neck. I wish I could lie to you and say my 17-year-old self didn't try to replicate this look for the high school prom, but my oh my, would the photos prove me wrong. I've always loved everything about Liz Hurley, and when I realized she was going to be debuting in a new show, The Royals, in which Hurley plays a British queen, I had to reach out to her. Thanks Liz, for making me aspire to act like a lady and feel like a woman. Meghan revealed she developed a girl crush on Liz Hurley after she was photographed with Hugh Grant wearing a safety pin dress in the 90s. The 8th of August 2014. Serena Williams. We hit it off straight away, taking pictures, laughing, and chatting, not about tennis or acting, but all about good, old-fashioned girly stuff. So began our friendship. We are both the same age, have a penchant for hot sauces and adore fashion, but what connects us more than those things is perhaps our belief in exceeding expectations, our endless ambition. The 9th of September 2014. Heidi Klum, supermodel. Last year, at a Golden Globe after-party, I spot sick what can only be described as the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. Yes, empirically speaking, Heidi Klum is gorgeous. But it was more than that, she looked real. Like the kind of chick you would want to grab a drink with, who juggles mommyhood with being a producer, host, model, designer and isn't afraid to get messy or laugh at herself. So precisely when and where were Meghan and Harry introduced? Various theories have been advanced, but according to Meghan's biographer, Andrew Morton, they first met on a blind date at Soho House, London, in early July 2016. Meghan, he says, had stopped off in the capital for a few days after a hen weekend for her writer friend Lindsay Roth, on the Greek island of Hydra, ostensibly to promote suits and attend the Wimbledon tennis tournament on behalf of Ralph Lauren. However, as she sat in the player's box watching Serena Williams win a place in the quarterfinals, virtually unrecognized among famous faces such as the legendary Vogue magazine editor Anna Wintour, she concealed a burning secret. She and Harry had gotten along so well on their first date that they had agreed to meet again. Soon afterwards, they would journey alone to Botswana, where, camping out in the wilds, their romance was sealed. Violet Von Westenholz might have made the introduction, but the strong likelihood is that Misha Nonu, fashion designer to the rich and famous and a mutual friend of the couple, was the arch matchmaker, assisted by the previously mentioned Marcus Anderson. Meghan with Cory and his friend, Soho House consultant Marcus Anderson, who became her confidant. Misha, 31, whose father is a wealthy Iraqi dermatologist. Her mother is English, attended a top Surrey public school before moving to New York to pursue her fashion career, but she has mingled in royal circles for years. Her former husband, multimillionaire art dealer Alexander Gilkes, was at Eton with Harry and Prince William, and they attended William's wedding to Kate Middleton. Misha and Meghan first crossed paths in December 2014 at the exclusive annual Art Basel